The Book of Jane, the story of woman. The human race is comprised of thousands of cultures, but primarily just two genders. If you call yourself woman, you are in the majority. Yet, almost 90% of this world is ruled by men. That leaves women with just 10%. Though there are many divisions among all of humanity, the elephant in the living room is the systematic, institutionalized segregation that seeks to keep women from being truly empowered, all the while lauding her progress. This approach to leadership is fundamentally detrimental to humanity as a whole. It seeks to deny the life of the feminine principle, to bubble up to humanity's evolutionary surface. It is the divine right of women to participate in a meaningful way within humanity as fully empowered human beings in accordance with the balance of nature. No creature can be lesser than any other creature. We are all part of the complex organism called Earth.
Centuries of almost exclusive male rule has made of this Earth a toxic bachelor pad in which men, women, and children are drowning, not only in the catastrophic seas of tsunamis and hurricanes, but also in the testosterone-infused seas of usurpation and corporate fiscal extortion. The one constant factor for the last 5,000 years has been the absence of women in determining the shape of humanity as we move forward together. Women have been deliberately held back from participation in the molding of a sane, responsible humanity that reveres the earth from which our sole means of survival comes. Indeed, women have been granted recognition and cameo leadership roles throughout history, but always within the auspices and constraints of the pervading patriarchy, and never in the numbers where women could collectively influence world policy. Remember, women in the United States haven't even been voting for less than 100 years. Men continually favor educating boys over women on a global scale, thus ensuring their power inheritance over all realms. Humanity may be on the brink of ruin and appears largely due to the omission of the feminine principle.
How would medicine and health have evolved if the pagans, who were known healers and concoctors of natural herbal medicines, had been able to live and thrive? The 6 to 9 million persecuted as witches during those times was a significant number. What would our medical system of today look like if their contributions were left intact? Would we be standing in the dark shadow of the monolithic medical monster that exists today? What would have happened if women had been on board those ships that sailed the world exploring the globe? And what if they had had autonomy on those ships? Would Africa have been divided up and doled out as it was, like chocolate cake at a colonialist tea party? What would spirituality and religion look like today if women had influenced them? Would all these wars fought on the basis of religion have been fought? Would our children have been the sacrifices of war?
What if the Medici family, living in Italy during the 1500s, had also funded the genius of women during the Renaissance? What if they had not funded the genius of Leonardo da Vinci to draw up early sketches of mechanical weapons of mass destruction?
One of humanity's most urgent crises is population density. What would have happened if women had been in control of their own reproduction? How many children are forced into this world by rape? Who sanctions ethnic cleansing? genocide or rape as an instrument of war, and the inhumane use of children as soldiers.
The traditional male role model as protector is archaic and literally on overkill. Yet this role still is culturally enforced to maintain the exploitation of all others. At the same time, and to the same effect, the traditional role model of women as caretakers has not been instituted into leadership and continues to be valued only on a personal family level instead of on a global stage. A woman's daily work is still very much hidden away in back rooms and taken for granted. Parity in leadership is what humanity requires for survival. Changing weather patterns renders war obsolete, as we can no longer manufacture more damage to the earth on top of the extreme weather-producing disasters without suffering a vast impact on our well-being as a planet.
Come on, women are 53% of the world's population. And if we have learned one thing over time, it is this. We need self-representation, not endless domination and discrimination. Women must have the authority to craft laws to protect themselves in order that they might function at their highest capacity.
May it come to pass that men of grace will propel the notion of equality forward in a massive sweep around the world to end the stoning, burning, mutilation, wars, cultural disparities, and the vast unjust chasm between those who live in extreme poverty and those who live in gluttonous excess. There have, however, been many great men who have lived as leaders with divine vision, but even they have been suppressed for posing too great a threat to the unsustainable ruling system that leads by instilling fear in the masses and by maintaining its disproportionate wealth for its continuation.
None have ever purported that the freedom of women to legislate on a grand scale could be paramount to humanity's survival. Women must move beyond the notion of feminist waves or increment steps forward through time. We must take the great leap now as it stands before us into our true autonomy. This will be very challenging for women worldwide because we have thousands of years of denigration burned into the neurons of our brains. Women abort their daughters in favor of sons. They genitally mutilate their own daughters, and they have become self-serving servants of the patriarchy.
This is the depth of the damage that male superiority has wrought on the minds of women through intimidation and fear all over the world. Within every culture lurks the denigration of women, but within every culture lurks also the capacity for men to realize the true worth of women in humanity's survival.
The resources for our unshackling will be hard to come by because men are still, in large part, in control of the purse strings. However, we have each other.
Global violence is escalating as populations grow larger and resources become scarcer, as corporations suck the commons up for sale to the highest bidder. We need to be mining nature's ingenuity for new ways of existing together creatively rather than destructively, and utilizing nature's classic example of ecosystems that honor the measure of true economy.
We have an amazing opportunity to find out now, today, to see if a significant number of women seated at the table of global consequence can nudge this world forward into a healing and saner mode of existence.
This is not lofty idealism, but imperative, and once set into motion, will bring swift change.
Now is the time for that great leap of faith. Now is the time of women.
So, how do we start to work towards rescuing humanity from insanity?
We start by leading our own lives and seeking our own truths.
We start by not settling.
We start by questioning.
We start by looking around us and seeing the truth and not denying it.
We start by knowing what we would like to see on the planet, on the earth, for the children and all remaining species.
We start by living, loving, and learning how to lose, say goodbye, and face up to our weaknesses and to bolster our strengths.
We learn by looking around us and seeing the oppression and suffering of other people and animals, trying to feel it, even though we ourselves may neither suffer nor feel desperate. We can never truly feel it, not when we are privileged or healthy, when we can walk when others can't. We cannot truly ever know how it is, but we can envision it.
Doing this teaches us compassion, respect, love, and understanding, which, when combined, can ultimately make this world a livable place for all who inhabit it.
We must also hold on to our wild side, our child self, and keep the sparkle in our eyes alive. Keep that playful, wild part of oneself. It is the endearing part of our soul. It is the spirit of life and hope that gives us the strength to move forward with purpose, no matter the foreboding forecast and seemingly insurmountable odds of doing nothing less than changing the world for the better. Had we heeded the words of Paulina Wright Davis back in 1850, would humanity live in a more elevated state today? At the proceedings of the Women's Rights Convention held at Worcester in the U.S. in 1850, Paulina Wright Davis spoke the following eloquent and visionary speech. Here is an excerpt. The Reformation which we purpose in its utmost scope is radical and universal. It is not the mere perfecting of a progress already in motion, a detail of some established plan. But it is an epical movement, the emancipation of a class, the redemption of half the world, women, and a conforming reorganization of all social, political, and industrial interests and institutions. Moreover, it is a movement without example among the enterprises of associated reformations, for it has no purpose of arming the oppressed against the oppressor, or of separating the parties, or of setting up independence, or of severing the relations of either. It seeks to replace the worn out with the living and the beautiful, so as to reconstruct without overturning and to regenerate without destroying. Human societies have long been working and fighting their way up from what we scornfully call barbarism into what we boastfully call modern civilization. But as yet, the advancement has been chiefly in ordering and methodizing the lower instincts of our nature and organizing society under their impulses. The institutions among men are not yet modeled after the highest laws of our nature. The masterdom of the strong hand and bold spirit is not yet over. For men have not yet established all those natural claims against each other, which seem to demand physical force and physical courage for their vindication. But the age of war is drawing towards a close, and that of peace is dawning, whose methods and end alike are harmony. And the uprising of womanhood is its prophecy and foreshadow. Now I ask you, where would the United States be today if men had heeded her words then? When women rise, all humanity will be lifted.